our sponsor, Parati's Quality Meats, located in Cranford, New Jersey, serving customers all over New Jersey for the past 50 years. Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Coach's Talk presented by the Shore Football Report. And tonight I have a Monmouth County head football coach that I'm real excited about to have on this show is Manalapan's one and only head football coach, Dom Lepore. Dom, what's up?
How we doing, Rob? How's everything? I'm real excited to be here tonight and talk some ball, man.
Yeah, real excited to have you guys in Monmouth County talking with me, who's an Ocean County guy, and I have a lot of respect for what you have done through the years, and I can't wait to brag about you tonight. Is that okay? Can I do that?
Oh, that's fine. I've been paying close attention and watching your shows, and I got a chance to watch my two guys there, Anthony Petruzzi and John Bird, and they're like younger brothers to me. Real excited watching those guys. I got on Coach Bird a little bit. I thought he was a little too serious.
Yeah, he was. Coach, before I brag about you a little bit with the introduction, I just want to tell everybody out there how much you do for the Shore Conference and what you do outside the game of the season, what people don't really know. You were the Shore Conference Coaches Association president for 6 years, that was, right?
Yes, for six years.
For 6 years. That is great. Usually it goes for 2 years. You were so good that they kept allowing you to do it for more than those 2 years. And then you're also, from 2016 to current, you've done an exceptional job with the Old Shore Gridiron Classic director, especially this year. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of why you thought we should have had something to do with that game? Because with the COVID, we were missing it for 2 years.
Yeah, just like I quoted with Shore Sports Network with Kevin and Bob and the guys, as a committee, we really felt like we had to do something for these kids. After last year not playing the game at all and just kind of, we just lost it. And just the whole season, the way it went, we agreed as a committee that we had to do something for these kids and get them together and honor them. Just too much tradition and pride to just let it fall by the wayside.
And Dom, me being the president now, I heard your plea to do something this year, and you were so passionate because it was so important to you to have something done. And probably, what is this, the longest standing All-Star game in New Jersey? We had to do something for the kids, right?
Absolutely, 44 years. So this would have been the 44th game, so the longest All-Star game in the state.
Yeah, and those guys that got inducted the last week, they had smiles on their faces. Yeah. There was some closure to it, and let's get back to normal. I mean, let's get this game cranking and get going. All right, let me introduce you now to everybody because I know who you are, but I did a lot of notes on you before you came in, so correct me if I'm wrong with this stuff. But your resume is so extensive. You're the Manalapan head football coach. This is going on your second year, and you've been there 2 other times at Manalapan. This is your 11th year consecutive on your second stint. Yep. Now, prior to you being a head coach, you were a successful defensive coordinator and special teams coach. You won the state championship, Central Jersey Group 5 state champions in 2014. But people don't realize you were also in the state finals 6 out of 7 years during your 11-year run there, huh?
Yeah, we've been very fortunate. Wow. We had some great players at Manalapan, and just the consistency of staff, and just that's been such a key for us. And again, just being very fortunate in the program that we have, and parents, all the way from the parents to the administration. It's just a great place to be.
I've always said it's easier to get to that high point than to stay on top, and you guys stayed on top for years. I didn't realize it was 6 out of 7 years, but I do recall you guys were up there quite a bit. But that's a great run. That is a great run.
Awesome.
So prior to Manalapan, you were at Neptune with Coach Mark Ciccatelli, who's going to be a future Hall of Famer. For 2 years, you won the 2011 Group 3 state championship as a defensive coordinator and lost in the finals the year before.
Yeah, the year after.
The year after, 2012, correct.
2012, yeah.
I mean, that is great. I mean, you enjoyed your stay there. We talked a little bit a couple minutes ago about that. Prior to that, you were at Manalapan for 1 year with Tommy Galliu.
Yes, Tommy was the head coach. Yes, Coach Galliu, yeah.
And you and I have a connection with that. I coached with Tommy, great coach. I coached with him at Lacey. Got a lot of respect for him for that. Coached there 1 year. Prior to that, you were at Freehold Township for 13 years. 10 of them, you were the head coach. And before that, you were the defensive coordinator for 3.
Yep.
What people don't realize is that in 2001, you were 7-3. And that was the first state playoff appearance ever in school history.
Yes.
And a first winning season in the last 14 years there. Was that true?
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, exactly.
You're pretty proud of that, huh?
Yeah. That, and again, coach some great players. I had the opportunity to coach both my brothers. The younger brother, my younger brother Paul, was a starting quarterback for 2 years, and then my other younger brother Greg was a linebacker. And again, I'll always say that's probably, in my opinion, the best Freehold Township team in school, in school history. I mean, that team was phenomenal. I put them up against anybody.
Anytime you get the first of anything, it's important. And Freehold Township has a pretty good head football coach right now, and he's got probably things to gauge his success on. Prior to that, you were at Tottenville, Staten Island, defensive coordinator for 3 years, and Port Richmond for 2 years. Don't know a lot about Staten Island football, but I do know anybody from New York that comes down kind of knows you, right? And that's usually the thing. So anytime I got transfers in from Staten Island, I asked if they knew you, and they go, the name sounds familiar. So that's what they would always say. Dom, it's a pleasure to have you on this show, and we'll talk a little bit more. But you've coached under 3 Hall of Fame coaches, and I'll let you talk about them there. I want to add also Mark Ciccatelli is a future Hall of Famer, so probably 4 in a couple of years. You're going to talk about it.
No doubt.
Yeah. All right. That is great that the introduction I did for you, but I want you now to talk about the process. The process is the main thing about this show, is where you get to talk about how you got to Manalapan High School as the head football coach right now. Nothing came easy. You had to win over the interview, and all the steps that you did through the years, came to help you out to be the head football coach. And just tell everybody how you became a head football coach right from your early days of football.
Yeah, I tell you, I was, I always say I'm very fortunate and very blessed. From an early age, from when I was in high school, I played at Tottenville High School on Staten Island. I always knew I wanted to coach. I knew I wanted to go into education. So I was fortunate as a young kid. I knew that. I was surrounded by some younger head coaches that I looked up to as mentors. You mentioned Tommy Galley, Jimmy Munson, who went on and became the head coach at Tottenville in 1992. But what happened was I started coaching the youth level right out of high school. I started coaching at Staten Island Boys. It's a Pop Warner League. I coached there for 2 years, and I loved it. And one of my close friends at a rival school at Port Richmond High School said that this guy, Joe George, at Port Richmond High School, was looking for a young assistant coach to coach on the JV. Mm-hmm. So I said, sure, I love to meet him. I know so much about Coach George. I had the opportunity to play against him as a player. So I met Coach George. He gave me the job. And the only problem from there is that in 1992, he took off and went to New Jersey. So we came to New Jersey. He settled at Franklin High School. And from there, he had a great, great career, a Hall of Fame career. The thing about Coach George, I've developed this relationship with him over the last 30 years. He's like another father to me. And, not only do we constantly talk every week about football, but about life too. So again, he's one of those guys that has really shaped my, not only football career, but my personal, career itself. And then from Port Richmond, I stayed there for 2 years, and I went back home to Tottenville High School. And at that time, Jimmy Munson had become the head coach there at Tottenville. And Coach Munson was like, okay, Dom, it's time to come back home. So I went back home, and I stayed at Tottenville for 3 years.
How far away are they from each other, distance?
Probably like the other side of the island. So Port Richmond is on the north shore, and Tottenville's on the south shore. So I would say probably like a good 20 to like 30 minutes away from each other.
All right.
And then, in terms of Jimmy Munson, again, another strong role model, mentor, Hall of Fame coach. That's really, really where I developed my football work ethic, was under Jimmy, especially when it came to defense. He gave me an opportunity at 24 years old to be a defensive coordinator. And, I always say it's a lot different. I mean, these younger coaches today have no really idea what we went through in the early 90s. The way we broke down film and, we were in the office till midnight on a Monday night, Tuesday night, 11 o'clock. I mean, you had to work and everything you did by hand. And,
Coach, you were a coordinator, a head football coach all your life. You
yes.
really kind of jumped over the just being a position coach. You're very fortunate.
It's just being fortunate, being in the right place at the right time and being surrounded by, these men. So, and then from there, once I left, what happened was I was going to Kane College. I was doing my student teaching at Howell High School. And my cooperating teacher at the time was close with the assistant principal at Freehold Township, who was Linda Jewell at that time. So he called over to Linda Jewell. And at the time, Gene Blanco was the head coach of Freehold Township. In the late 90s, I hooked up with Gene in 97. And Gene gave me a job and hired me as a defensive coordinator. And, I was defensive coordinator for 3 years, 97, 98, 99. And then Gene stepped down, and I had an opportunity to be a head coach in 2000. And I was 28 years old. And at that time, I think maybe myself and Scott Larkin, he was the head coach at Ocean. I think Scott and I were the youngest head coaches in the Shore. And I always tell people, you always think you're ready for that position. And I look back at it now, 28 years old, I certainly wasn't ready to be a head coach. And I compared now my second stint at 48 years old, and I say it's night and day what you know. 28 years old, I was a head coach in 2000, and I lasted 10 years. And again, I had opportunity to coach some really, really great football players at Freehold Township, and I've always taken a lot of pride in, all the kids that we put in college, and a couple of those guys playing in the NFL, Ryan Spadola, Matt Hardison, and just some great football players, Joe Fiella, Matt Fiella, Paul Amakihi. So it was the list went on, but we had some great players at Freehold Township. And then in 2009 was my last year at Freehold Township. I came over to Manalapan. Tommy Galli, who I spoke about before, who coached me in high school, was the head coach of Manalapan. So I went over to Manalapan in 2010, and Tommy made me the special teams coordinator. And again, just had a great team there. And we lost to Sayreville in the semifinals, and that was a tough game. And then in 2011, one of my closest friends, Mark Chigatelli, got the Neptune job. And he said, Dom, an opportunity for us to coach together. So why don't you come over here and run the defense? So I said, absolutely. So, I spoke to Coach Galliu about that, and I left and went over to Neptune with Mark for 2 years. And that was my first state championship in 2011. And that was, as a coach. And that was a phenomenal team, probably one of the best teams I've ever coached in terms of athleticism and just football smarts, and just a great, great team. And then in 2012, we lost the finals. We went back to the finals, and we lost to Nottingham at TCNJ. And then after 2012, we went back to Manalapan. And at that time, Eddie was in his second stint as the head coach, Eddie Guerreri. And for 3 years, I was a special teams coordinator. And then in 2016, I became the defensive coordinator till 2019. But Eddie was another one of those guys. I talked about Coach George and then Jimmy Munson, but Eddie was another Hall of Fame coach who really, really, Eddie kind of put my whole coaching, career together. He kind of shaped it, and from a football standpoint to a personal standpoint, and he really molded me these last 10 years. And I give him so much credit. And he's more than just a peer. He's like he's like an older brother of mine, and I lean on him a lot. So he's just another great coach I've had the opportunity to coach with.
Good.
Fortunate, very fortunate.
Coach, what did you learn from being a head football coach at 28 years old to right now? Why are you a better coach from that experience?
I just think, again, just years. It comes with time. It comes with time, and it comes with experience. It comes with, falling down, pick yourself up. You're not going to win every game. You're going to lose those tough ones. Just learning experiences, dealing with, dealing with the administration, dealing with parents, dealing with the community. I think all that stuff just takes time. That's just a whole process. And, it's not something that just comes so natural to you at a young age, at 28 years old. I think that's something that you have to learn. And again, you have to fall, you have to pick yourself up, and, and you got to brush yourself off, and you got to improve.
I think it's awesome that your school district, you're just in a different school in the Freehold Township School District as a head coach. Says a lot about you, because you made a great impression where you were at, and as an assistant too, to get hired the second time with that. A lot of people don't realize this, but you are huge into recruiting, and you are very good at networking with college coaches. College coaches know who you are because you make it known that it's important to you to expand your network and with college recruiting. And you made the list of guys that you said went to the pros and high up in college. How important is that to you, college recruiting?
No, I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, the football part of it is great. I mean, coaching football is great, but our jobs as educators and coaches is to mold men. Mold these young men into people that are going to go out and support a family and get a full-time job, and that's what it's all about. Just shaping these young men's lives. And I was very fortunate, again, as a head coach, when I was the head coach of Freehold Township. Talk about networking. Had the opportunity to work Coach Shiano, his first stint at Rutgers, those 10 years. I worked every camp of his, and I couldn't wait for those socials at night to just sit down with all the college coaches. And again, it was just sitting there and talking ball and talking about your kids, and again, that's where I met all these guys all through the years, and all my networking started.
Coach, we're talking about networking. Okay, you ever hear of Ryan Day?
Yes, absolutely.
Ryan Day was the coach at Boston College. I had a kid, Jared Dormstatter. So he was the OC there. These guys don't realize that these assistant coaches in certain places, in a couple of years, they're going to be big name guys. So he left through the years. He gives me a phone call out of the blue, and he says, "Coach, it's Coach Day." He goes, "I just want to let you go. I'm coming back into college."
Yeah.
Where were you? He was at San Francisco with the 49ers. He became the OC at Ohio State. A couple of years later, he's the head coach. But see how networking does? If I ever needed a college number, I would call you or text you, and either you had the number or you would get it to me within the next couple minutes. Says a lot about you at the network, and it's important to you. And it's not just for your kids; it's for any kid in the area. It says a lot about you. It really does. It really does. That. So, and the short conference is very, very privileged to have you in your position right there, and also for what you do with the All-Star games. And we're in a better position since you were the president of the short conference. Made my job a lot easier. Picking your brain, picking your brain. Coach, that was some story in the process. Very impressive stuff. All right, Coach. Now, I want to talk a little bit COVID, but not the bad stuff. I'm sick of hearing about the negative stuff, and I know you are too. Us football coaches were very flexible this year and did an outstanding job, especially the short conference, of allowing these kids to be able to play the greatest sport of all, football. Tell me something positive about what you experienced in the COVID season, because I don't want to hear anything more negative.
Coach, I'll tell you what, and I tell people this all the time. Yes, it was a crazy year, and there was a lot of crazy things that happened, but it made us better football coaches. It made us a better staff, and we talk about it all the time, and I'll tell you why. You couldn't wing it. You couldn't take any chances. You had to pay close attention to detail. And as football coaches, you yourself as a head coach, it's all about attention to detail. And I tell people, if you did not pay close attention to detail, it was going to potentially hurt your team, right? And, the safety of your team. So, I mean, just crossing your T's and dotting your I's, I would say coming out of last year made us better football coaches.
Yeah, it made them very responsible young men.
Absolutely.
The other thing what it did, Coach, is if we never had the COVID, we would never have the coaches talk, because I wouldn't know anything. I didn't realize you can do this. When this came out, business people were like, "Yeah, we've been doing that for years." I didn't know that.
Absolutely.
But this is
all
awesome.
Zoom meetings, the Zoom meetings and the Google Meets. I mean, we had to figure out, we had to find a way to talk to the kids and communicate with my parents' club. And I mean, the administration, it was just, you had to improve. You had to improve technology wise. You had to be on top of your game.
This is great. I mean, this ain't going away in terms of communicating. I just felt like we were better communicators now with
absolutely
what we were presented with this. So
no doubt,
that's a good story, Coach. I'm glad to hear that about what you guys did. Okay, now, Coach, 2021 Manalapan High School football schedule. To the left, to the right is the new divisions that were just put in place, the Colonial that you're in. So let's talk about the division second, and I want you to talk about your schedule to the left. Go ahead, Coach.
Yep. All right. So we we went out and I contacted Mike Albuquerque at St. John Vianney and went to try to schedule that St. John Vianney game on the 2nd of right before Labor Day weekend. So there was some rumblings about and some rumors and stuff in the beginning of the school year about possibly with Mater Dei and their situation there with their coach leaving and possibly not having a varsity program, varsity team. So we felt like we had to jump on it right away and go get that 6th game, just in case that would have happened. So, and it worked out. So Mike agreed, and they're coming to us on the 2nd. So we're looking forward to that game on September 2nd. The week that Mater Dei, we were supposed to play Mater Dei, we're now just going to keep it as a bye week, and then from there we got a Homedale at home. So Homedale Jeff has done some really good things over the last 3 or 4 years. So, an opportunity to play those guys would be different. Manalapan, we've never played a Homedale team. So, looking forward to that one. And then we have Middletown South. We'll be home on the 24th. And obviously, I know Steve, Coach Antonucci, and Al Bigos and those guys, Steve Roberts, for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a lot of battles with those guys. So, that's a great rivalry for us. I'm excited about that one, and that one's back on the schedule because it's always a tough, physical football game. So looking forward to that one. And then we go on the road for 3, and we're going down the Southern Regional to start. And again, another one of those staffs, Coach Donahue Sr. and Coach Donahue Jr. and Matt Abadi, those guys, and know those guys for such a long time and have such a tremendous amount of respect for those guys and what they do and how they run their program. So we got to go down to Southern on the 1st of October. And then October 8th, we're going to Jackson. Now, Jackson, it's, again, it's Ocean County, but it's been a great rivalry for us. And it goes all the way back to the early 2000s for Manalapan. And we've always kind of made this pact that if we don't play each other during the season, then we're going to scrimmage each other. And that's gone from Mike Smith to Walt Christopek and now Vinny Mistretta. So, if we're not on the schedule, we're immediately calling each other, Vinny and I, and saying, okay, let's scrimmage. So, and Manalapan Jackson's always a tough physical game. And then we finish the regular season at Freehold Borough. That'll be a Saturday game there at Freehold Borough. And again, Dave Ellis and that staff there, those guys, they do a great job. And Dave was the coach of the year this year. He would have been the Monmouth County coach of the for the All Shore game. And again, I know Dave for a long, long time and coached under Mark Ciccatelli and Mike D'Antonio, their offensive coordinator. Mike and I played together in high school and was also one of my coaches at Freehold Township.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Their offensive line coach, Jay Blum, played for me at Freehold Township. So there's that good rivalry right there between us and Freehold Borough.
That is great. Coach, before you go into the right side, and the pod play, you just don't know where it's going to be at. If you're going to make it into that Final Four, or you're going to be matched up with that. So that's the luck of the draw with that. But that schedule right there, it's very interesting that you picked up two non-conference games. You got St. John Vianney, which is going to get you those multipliers, and then you got Freehold Borough, which is one of the top teams in the Shore the last couple of years. That's pretty competitive non-conference games, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, again, we're at Manalapan and we've had success, and we always want to play the best teams, and I think this goes all the way back to as long as Eddie's been the head coach. If you play a great schedule during a regular season, it's only going to get you ready for the playoffs. And that's what we've always found. And again, we've gone to the state championship, and we've lost it more than we wanted, but just to get there because of the schedule that we played during the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
So when we get into the playoffs and we got to face, Sayreville and South Brunswick and North Brunswick and teams like that, you feel like you're prepared because of the schedule you played during the regular season.
Yeah,
for us as a bigger school.
Yeah. Now looking to the right, the newly formed Colonial Division, and us coaches do not know who our divisions are because in football we have a committee that kind of puts things together in competitive play. Now, with that being done and said, everybody's divisions from top to bottom are very close. Looking at those teams there, they are well-coached teams that have been very successful in the past or currently. And wow, there is no rest in any of those divisional games.
Yeah, no. Again, that committee that put the divisions together, just based off those 3 years, those last 3 years, if you look at the records of the teams in our division, there are a few games above 500. So, they're like 14 and 12, 15 and 13, like that, 14 and 11. So again, like you just said, it's going to be a very competitive division. It's going to be very competitive. I think every single team in there is probably excited that they got the opportunity to win that division. So I think it's going to be some great football games on Friday night.
Yeah, Coach. Us coaches, we're always looking at our schedule from our eyes, but you got to remember those coaches are also looking at you and saying the same thing. Manalapan is also the same program that is tough to prepare for, that has tradition and is well coached. So that's going to be something that I'm looking forward to covering during the 2021 season. Okay, Coach, now I love doing this part right here. It's the 2021 coaching staff. These are the guys that make us head football coaches look good 24/7. Let's start hearing some names.
Yeah, I really love the group of guys that we have here on staff. And I tell you what, something I've always taken a lot of pride in as a head coach is surrounding myself with young, energetic guys, mixed with the experienced guys, and also alumni. Alumni is very, very important to me. It's always been important to me as a head coach of Freehold Township, and it's important to me here at Manalapan.
Yeah.
And this staff is made up of alumni from Freehold Township, alumni from Manalapan, and alumni throughout the Shore Conference. So I think it's a great mix of guys. The first guy is Cody High, and Cody High is our offensive coordinator. Cody played at Manalapan. He went on to Rowan University. He coached. He was a GA up at Rutgers under Kyle Flood, and then he was also with the Chicago Bears as an intern for a year. So, and Cody just. I just put his work ethic up against anybody. Just a tremendous worker. He's got that college football work ethic where it's just like nonstop football for him. And, he just does a tremendous job. Very energetic guy. Next guy is Bill Smith Jr. Billy Smith has been with us for 10 years. He was our head freshman coach. He was a captain of mine at Freehold Township in 2003. Went on to FDU. And he's been with us for the last 10 years. Billy's going to coach our offensive line. He's a teacher in the building. John Harrison has also been with us for 10 years. He's the special teams coordinator. He played at Colts Neck High School, so he's been in the district. He's also a para in the building. He's my paraprofessional in school. Mm-hmm. So John is also in the building. Louis Perfera. Louis is he's a New York City teacher, was a New York City coach. He resides here in Manalapan, and he coaches our running backs. And, again, another guy that brings a lot of energy.
See what I'm saying? Another New York guy you know.
Yeah, another New York guy I know. Yep, was a coach at Newdorp High School on Staten Island.
Good.
Danny Anarella Jr. Danny was the championship quarterback in 2014 at Manalapan. He was our quarterback, and then went on to Pace University and stayed there for 5 years. And played quarterback there at Pace. Danny is our quarterback coach. So again, another alumni guy on the staff. Dave Calderon. Dave Calderon played defensive line and O-line for us at Neptune in 2011 and 2012. And Dave came over last year. He coaches our defensive line. He played at University of New Haven. He's one of those guys that still runs around like in the Arena League and still wants to sack quarterbacks. And Dave brings a lot of energy to the staff and does a tremendous job with the defensive line. Jesse Shanker just brought him on this year. Jesse is going to coach our defensive backs. He played for me at Freehold Township in the early 2000s. 2004 was a captain of mine. He went on to Montclair University, and now Jesse is back to coach with us here at Manalapan. That takes care of pretty much the varsity staff. And then my head freshman coach is Andrew Jones. And Andrew Jones has been with us for the last 5 years. He's also a teacher in the building. He's a special ed teacher. Brian Dole is one of our other freshman coaches. Reggie Grant Sr. You can't talk about Manalapan football without mentioning Reggie Grant. You want to talk about a legend or the man of Manalapan, it all starts with Reggie. He's a police officer in town, and Reggie just brings that presence, and everybody loves Reggie. Everybody knows Reggie, and he just does a great job. Anthony Mucciolo. Anthony is a freshman coach. We brought him on this year, and then Peter DiCaldo. Peter played quarterback for us in 1998 at Manalapan. And now he's back to help with the freshmen. So that pretty much takes care of the staff. Like I said, a great group of guys. There's young, there's youth, there's experience, there's energy, there's alumni, and
you got the whole mix. You got the whole mix.
You got the whole mix. We just hired a new athletic director, Beth English from Freehold Township, and if you know anything about Shore Conference sports, you know Beth. She's she's a Hall of Famer at Wall High School. She was a 1,000-point scorer, went to Villanova and played softball, and then had a great career as a coach at Freehold Township. So Beth is now our AD. She's taken over for Rodney Taylor. Rodney is now going over to Freehold Township as an assistant principal. So we're really excited about having Beth on board with us as the athletic director. So,
sounds like a lot of fun. You got a lot of young guys. Keeps you young, Coach. They keep you young.
Keeps me young. I'm going to be 50, but I feel like I'm 25.
I didn't realize my wife, because, my staff that I had, they've been with me for a long time, but they're 32, 33, 34. Yeah. So when I step down, I'm 50. I have nothing in common with them outside of football. My music, the way I dress,
kids.
You need them for football, but I can't relate to. It's just crazy, but that's great that you got a young staff, guys that followed you too. That says a lot about you. Says a lot about you, because they're coming into different situation, feeling uncomfortable, but they felt comfortable with you as the leader.
Yes, and the biggest thing is the expectations. They know where I'm coming from, and I tell them, listen, we're going to be very demanding. We're going to be demanding of our kids, and they understand because I was demanding of them when they were players for me. Mm-hmm. So, we got a great mix of that. And again, like I said, we have guys like John Harrison and Andrew Jones. Andrew Jones played for Corey Davies at Howell, and John played for Mike MacArthur at Colts Neck. So, these guys, Dave Calderon played for Mark, Mark and I. So, it's guys that have played for really good head football coaches.
And also good role models for those kids.
Great role models, right.
Okay, now, Coach, let's talk 2021 Manalapan High School football team. Before you get going, just please tell everybody what you guys run offensively and defensively, what kind of schemes you do, and then start bragging about those key returning starters that I know that you're excited about for this season.
Yeah, from an offensive standpoint, we're a pro-style offense. We're multiple. We'll be in 21 personnel. We'll be in 22 personnel. Some 11, things like that. So we're pretty multiple. But, the schemes and the plays have always been the same, from what we do from an offensive standpoint. And then defensively, we're a 3-4 team. We've always been a 3-4, and, we take a lot of pride in what we do defensively, and that never changes.
Now let's hear about those guys that you got coming back. Those football players that have been working all off season and can't wait to get back to normal and start playing Manalapan football. Coach, let's hear about those guys.
Yeah, sure. Again, our philosophy, and this goes back to all the way, with when Eddie, started as the head coach. And one thing I learned from Eddie was about conviction. You got to have conviction. Yeah. And our philosophy at Manalapan it's football. It's football talk, cliche. It's you got to run the ball and you got to be able to stop the run, and that's our philosophy. It's always been that way. It's never going to change. So, before we start talking about the skill guys, we talk about those guys up front, and I let everybody on the team know it starts. It starts with those guys up front on both sides of the ball. So, we're excited about those guys on the offensive side. We have 4 of those 5 guys back from last year.
Wow.
And the 5th guy is a senior who we're hoping he's ready to, step up. And we changed his position. We moved from tight end to guard. So, we're excited about him. But, those 5 guys are Mario Churchia, Corey Hollowak, Julian Santo, Andrew Roginski, and then Jack Boyle. And then we got some guys behind them that be competing with those guys. But, we're really excited about those guys up front on the offensive line. It starts with those guys. Our returning starting quarterback, Mike Heckel. And Mike came in like he started the season. And then he came back in after the 3rd game and went the rest of the way for us. So, he got a lot of experience in those 6 games last year. And he's a big, tall kid. He has a good arm and he has a good head for the game. He understands the offense. So we're, real excited. It's always nice to have that trigger guy back, behind the center.
Makes things a lot easier.
Makes it a lot easier. It's having that other coach on the field on the offensive side of the ball. At running back, EJ Marquez, and EJ got a lot of snaps for us at running back. He'll be a senior. Also plays linebacker for us on defense. And then at receiver, we have Paul Wojciechowski. Paul will be a 3-year starter. So Paul has been starting since his sophomore year. And again, just a solid guy in the slot and great hands and just runs really good routes. And then the other 2 guys, Mike Bamonte, he'll be a senior. And then Tyler Walker, he'll be a senior too. So, with the exception of Woj, who started for the last 3 years, Mike and Tyler got some reps last year as juniors. So
Coach,
we're
you got to be excited. You got to be excited. I'm sorry, offensively with 4 linemen and the 5th one fighting to get in there. Your quarterback, running back, receiver back. I mean, wow. I mean, you got to be excited about your offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, it just, again, like you said before, it just makes things easier, especially coming out of last year and this, and with the COVID year and the shortened season, coming into this year where you got a full summer, you have a full camp, 4 scrimmages, it's just going to make things easier as the season starts, depends on where you are.
Let's hear about some of those defensive players.
Yeah, so like I said, on the defensive side, a couple of those offensive linemen, those guys, Mario Churchia, Corey Hollowak, those guys, Jack Boyle, they'll play some defensive line. The 2 inside linebackers are returning starters, Jordan Gravesante and Jonathan Gell. So both of those guys started for us last year in the middle. At corner, Tyler Walker, Tommy Clark, he's a returning starter, Paul Wojciechowski. And then we just have to replace the 2 safeties. So those guys will be new. So we'll have a bunch of guys competing, for those 2 spots on the back end of our 3-4.
Great. Well, one question I got: how many guys are you going to be carrying varsity?
Right now we're probably about 80, 82. Wow. Yeah.
That's great. And how many freshmen?
Freshmen, we're usually up at around between 35 or 40.
That's very high. Considering right now. Wow. So you're well over 100. You're well over 100. Good for you.
We usually like in that 130 range, 140 range.
Wow. That's great, man. Listen, I love hearing about all the different players out there since I will be covering Shore Conference football, and you've talked so highly about many, many, many of them. I kind of think you're going to be right in the mix of everything in your division, and knock on wood, everything stays good with health and all that stuff. And this thing right here is not used anymore. I mean, how can you not get excited about the 2021 season for the Manalapan Braves, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, again, like I was saying before, from the administration down to the parents, to the coaches, to the kids, everyone's just real excited to get going. And we got a great support system. So it makes it a lot of fun. I'm
going to have to take a ride over to one of your practices. I want to see I want to see a program that has 110, 120 football players on there. I really would like to see that. Me being a Group 2 school, I mean, we've had high numbers, but not the 120 range with that. So, listen, I really appreciate you coming on the show tonight.
No, I loved it.
It'll be posted late tonight. It takes around 3 hours to process, but I can't wait to post it out. In the meantime, please start spreading the word about the new website, the shorefootballreport.com. That will be on all over the place. My website's getting hit big time, and all the videos are going to be out there, especially this one during the season. We'll be covering it, talk shows and player highlights, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
No, and it's what it should be. It's what it should be.
No parents complaining here. It's awesome.
It's great, man.
I'm the good guy. I'm the good guy. Hopefully, as long as I don't spell people's names wrong or something like that, pronounce it wrong.
That's right. Get those Italian names right.
It's tough, Coach. Listen, this was a pleasure, man. I couldn't think of doing anything better on a Monday night talking football, Manalapan Braves. Have a lot of respect from a distance from you guys, Dom. Me being at Barnegat, you being all the way at Manalapan. We do meet up in social events and all that stuff. Yeah. But I'm going to spend some time to get to know, the more programs in the Monmouth County this year. I'm on my year off and all that. So, okay.
Appreciate that, buddy.
I thank you very much and wishing you the very best, Coach.
You got it.
Thank you very much.
Bud.